getiren bir acanta ve benim güvendiğim bir acanta. Benim için güvenmek çok önemli bildiğiniz gibi. O yüzden güvendiğim birisini çağırdım sizler için. Ve kendileri sadece hemşireleri değil, doktorları, diğer sağlık çalışanlarını da getiriyorlar ya da onlara destek veriyorlar. O yüzden benim için önemliydi. Bakalım şeyi davet edeyim. Please accept.
Hello.
Merhaba.
It works. Everything works.
Hoş geldin. Ben arkadaşlara söyledim. Dedim biraz Türkçe, biraz İngilizce konuşacağız. I told my colleagues we will speak English and Turkish. We'll help them to understand. That's why we're here today, just for them. Bugün sizin için buradayız arkadaşlar. Hem İngilizce hem Türkçe. Sizlerin anlaması için her şey, yani sizler için olacak. First of all, welcome.
Thank you
Hoş
so
geldin.
much. Thank you. It's really, really lovely to be here because you're really kind. Thank you.
Can you tell us, arkadaşlar dikkat ettiniz mi? İsmi
Edita
Etna Özbek.
Özbek.
Özbek.
I think.
Edita Özbek. Özbek Türkçe gibi. Can you tell us please your surname? Where is come from? Soyadı Türkçe değil mi arkadaşlar? Soralım bakalım.
So my surname is Turkish and my husband's father was Turkish. He was called Turgut.
Okay. Eşinin babası Türkmüş arkadaşlar, öğrendik.
He was called Turgut Özbek and he came to the UK in the 1960s and met this beautiful British girl, fell in love with her. The story was full of drama and but very romantic. Anyway, in the end, they got married. He was the love of her life. So my husband's dad was Turkish, mum British, and so I unfortunately speak Turkish.
Arkadaşlar, let me tell them please. Babası, eşinin babası 1960 yılında İngiltere'ye gelmiş. Burada birisine aşık olmuş. Onun üzerine evlenmişler. Ve sonuçta çocukları yarı Türk, yarı İngiliz tabii ki. Şimdi Edna'nın eşi. O yüzden soyadları Türk yani. Ama your husband, I bet he's English.
Yes, he was born and raised in English. He does speak a little bit of Turkish, but he hasn't been back to Turkey for about 20-something years since his dad died. So this coming back now, coming back, it's coming for me, coming for the first time. It's very, very exciting, and it does feel as though it's part of my family because my children's blood is partly Turkish. 1/8 of their blood is Turkish. So I feel a very strong connection to Turkey through my family.
Okay. Bildiğiniz gibi arkadaşlar, lütfen duyuruları takip ediniz. Edna yakında benimle beraber Türkiye'ye gelecek. 21 Haziran'da İzmir'de, 23 Haziran'da da İstanbul'da olacağız. Hem yüz yüze sizinle görüşmek için hem de bu bilgileri aktarmak için. Kendisi o yüzden diyor, bir tarafım hani çocuklarımın dedeleri Türk olduğu için çok heyecanlıyım diyor. Onun için çok mutluyum diyor. Kendisine teşekkür ederiz bu yüzden. Okay, I'm gonna ask a few questions. Arkadaşlar sorularınızı sorabilirsiniz. Ben kendisine ileteceğim ama öncelikle bana sorulan sorular var. Onu söyleyeceğim. First of all, do you think England needs health carer? Not
yes,
health carer,
absolutely.
health worker. So can you tell us what do you need from Turkey? What kind of health worker you need to people to come to England? They just do they have a job?
We have lots
Şunu sordum arkadaşlar.
We have lots of opportunities, Pakiza. We have obviously lots of opportunities for nurses and midwives. There are still trusts actively recruiting. So just to give you an idea, in the last 18 months, there's been more than 35,000 nurses and midwives registering from overseas. So that's the level of demand that exists in the UK, and we're still going strong. We still have trusts planning for this year, for next year. So there's lots of opportunities available for all types of nurses, midwives, but also doctors. Sorry.
Arkadaşlar şu ana kadar söylediği şeyleri size tekrar edeyim. 18 ay içerisinde 35.000 tane yabancı hemşire İngiltere'ye gelmiş, kabul edilmiş ve öngörüsü şu, bu yıl ve gelecek yılda 35.000 tane daha kişi isteniyor hemşire ve ebe olarak. Yani benim size aynı söylediklerimi söylüyor. Kapılar size hala açık, İngilizce bilenler için. çok doğru ve güvenli bir şekilde İngiltere'ye gelebilirsiniz. Ebe ve hemşireler zaten biliyorsunuz benden dolayı güvenli ellerdesiniz. Sizden beklediğim tek şey İngilizce öğrenmeniz. Gerisini bana söylüyorsunuz, sınavları geçiyorsunuz. Güvenli bir şekilde de bu ajanda sizi ücretsiz olarak işe yerleştiriyor. Orada sorun yok.
Doctors,
so what about
absolutely
doctors?
yes. A huge demand for doctors. Lots of opportunities across all disciplines. Dentists as well, and let's not forget our amazing allied healthcare professionals. So we're looking at clinical psychiatrists, occupational therapists, podiatrists, operating department practitioners, speech and language therapists. So lots of opportunities that we will be discussing during our event in Turkey.
I just want to ask you, a question. Like people in Turkey, they work in operation theater. Arkadaş anestezi arkadaşlar için soruyorum. They work as a like anesthetist technician. So they don't know what kind of job they can do in the UK. Is there anything they can do, like
anesthesia technicians could qualify under the operating department practitioners registration. So it really depends on what sort of qualifications they've had, and then also job experience. So we would very much welcome applications from these candidates too, and we will be able to review them on a case-by-case basis and advise whether they would be eligible for the HCPC registration. So the Nursing and Midwifery Council, the nurses and midwives register with the NMC, and then the Allied Healthcare Professionals register with the Health and Care Professions Council, HCPC.
Orayı hemen bir açıklayayım. I will explain to people. Basically arkadaşlar hemşireler ve ebeler için artık hepiniz biliyorsunuz. Hemşirelik ve ebelik, Nursing Midwife Council dediğimiz yerler var. Ama diğer kişiler için yani fizyoterapist, işte anestezist, bütün diğer insanlar, diğer kişiler için de HPC dediğimiz Healthcare Professional Council dediğimiz, onu yazabilirseniz açılımını lütfen, if you can write please, oraya kayıtlı olmanız gerekiyor. Burada deniyor ki siz diyor güzel deneyiminiz varsa, İngilizceniz varsa diyor başvurabilirsiniz, ona göre değerlendirebiliriz diyor. Okay? So what about doctor please, because doctor said to me like they need to have a plug 1, plug 2. Do you have that?
Yes, so the international doctors recruitment is slightly different to the nursing recruitment, and because the volumes are generally lower than the volumes of nurses coming through, so it wouldn't be unusual for us to need to recruit, for example, 400 nurses for one particular NHS trust, whereas the doctors' vacancies tend to be lower. And because of the difference in the salaries between nurses and doctors both in the UK and overseas, unfortunately the NHS trusts don't offer any relocation package to support the doctors with the PLAB 1 and PLAB 2. So there is that expectation that doctors would have already gone through this process before an interview. But we are here. We're here to support with every stage of the application, provide pastoral care, look after the doctor or the nurse or any candidate and their family as well. It's really important to us to ensure that the candidates get the best experience and they know that we are with them beyond just the arrival in the UK, that we will help their families relocate as and when they're ready to come. If necessary, we will help with school enrollments, etc. So there's a huge a range of services that we can offer at no fee. There's no fees to the candidates. There's, the fees that are payable to agencies come from the direct employees directly and are not deducted from salary. So there are no hidden costs.
Arkadaşlar ben hani bu kişileri size seçmemin sebebini söyledim zaten. Bir, güvenilir olmaları. İki, asla sizden para talep etmemeleri. Ve benim aracılığımla gideceğiniz için de ben yani bir şey olduğunda telefon edip bu kişide gecikme var ne oldu diye sorabilme hakkım var. O anlamda kendilerine güveniyorum. Şimdi bunu da söylediler. Biz hiçbir şekilde para almıyoruz. Her basamakta da şeyleri destekliyoruz tabii ki. Ben sizin isminizi sürece kendilerini destekliyoruz diyor. Bu çok güzel bir şey yani zaten beklediğimiz bir şeydi. You know what is our biggest problem is English language. In Turkey, unfortunately, we don't learn English very well, unfortunately, because of that. Even though the Turkish healthcare worker, all of them, doctors, anesthesists, physiotherapists, they are all really good, experienced, perfect. But because of the language barrier, they struggle. Is there anything long-term plan, any language support these people? Arkadaşlar, dedim ki bizim Türk arkadaşlarımız çok iyiler, çok başarılılar. Ama İngilizceleri iyi değil. Acaba İngilizce konusunda bir desteğiniz olabilir mi diye sordum. En önemli soru.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So part of our philosophy is to really make sure that we give back to the sourcing countries. And one of the initiatives as part of our corporate and social responsibility is to introduce English language training as part of a university curricula. So one of the partners that is coming to Istanbul and Izmir with us is called Specialist Language Courses. It's a company based in the UK. The abbreviation is SLC. They are coming with us, and they introduced in India in particular a curricular review whereby, because at the moment the situation in India is that nurses go through a university degree and finish their clinical course, but their English level is here and it needs to be here. So the curricula that SLC prepared is to bridge that gap over the 3 or 4 year course, so it's less intense, and once you finish your university degree you are ready for the OET exam or ready for IELTS exam. They've successfully onboarded over 10,000 students onto that course. And we very recently had a fantastic conversation with the British Embassy in Istanbul. And we are...
Wow. Arkadaşlar bakın, kapılar size neler açıyor. Siz beni desteklediniz. Çok teşekkür ederim. Lütfen paylaşmaya devam edin. Daha çok takipçimiz olsun ki sözümüz dinlensin. Bakın, kadın İstanbul'daki British Embassy ile konuşmuş destek amaçlı. Bu önemli bir şey. Sonra İngilizce kursu Türkiye'ye gelecek bizimle beraber. Bunlar OET olmayan şeyler yani arkadaşlar. Bunlara dikkat edin. Okay? I am very proud.
So
very good.
What we're hoping to achieve is through the British Embassy in Istanbul to receive introductions to universities, but also to the Ministry of Health, to make them realize that this is what we're doing. We want to be always open and transparent, and that there is so much that we can give back. And this initiative of introducing English language as part of a clinical course is just one of the things that we can give back. And so we're really passionate. We are bringing the right people to Istanbul to also be able to demonstrate how we can give back.
Also, don't forget Izmir and Istanbul. We're going
That's
two
right.
places. Because I have very strong followers from Izmir, very fanatic.
I am going to be meeting an old family friend that I've never met, that was a friend of my mother-in-law and my passed away now father-in-law. So I feel like I will be rediscovering some family connections in Izmir. So if you are from Izmir, come and see us, and maybe we'll discover some bloodlines there.
Buradakiler falan mutlaka gelsin, görüşelim diyor. Belki akrabalığımız bile çıkar diyor bu gidişle. Yani eminim çok güzel bir buluşma olacak. Yani İngilizce kurs desteği de uzun dönemde olabilir arkadaşlar. Özellikle hani bir noktaya gelen arkadaşlar işte geçemiyor OET'de, işte IELTS'ta. Can I just ask you, for doctor, what IELTS level
So
they
that
need
will
to have?
depend on whether it's a GMC registration for an NHS doctor, or, for example, for a clinical psychologist, psychiatrist. But generally, we're talking about 7.5 across the different disciplines. So it's not hugely different to nursing and allied healthcare professionals. Speech and language therapists tend to have that higher requirement, just purely because of the profession. But we're very happy to answer any questions in detail during the presentation. So please let all your friends know, clinical psychologists, doctors, dentists, allied healthcare professionals, bring them all with you, and we will look after them.
Arkadaşlar bakın, yine önemli bir şey söylüyor. Yüz yüze görüştüğümüzde diyor, tabii daha detaylı insanlar da olacak ve sadece hemşireler için değil, dediğim gibi doktorlar, özellikle diş hekimleri, ondan sonra fizyoterapist, occupational therapist, yani bütün insanlar gelebilir. Ve bu will you charge my Turkish colleagues
No,
for this
of
event?
course not. No, the event is free. You're very welcome to come and see the presentation, speak to the stakeholders, have a cup of tea, have some cake with us. There's no charge, but we have limited number of spaces. So please register and we will send you a formal invitation. We're going to have a registration list because we only have a maximum capacity of 300 people per session. So we're going to have a morning session for the nurses and midwives and the afternoon session for doctors, dentists and allied healthcare professionals. So we can only have a maximum capacity of 300. So it's absolutely very, very important that you register with us first and you get that email with confirmation that you have your space.
Detaylar sonradan gelecek arkadaşlar. Ücretsiz olacak tabii ki, ben o kadarını yapsın yani. Ben dedim Türk çalışanları fakir, zengin değil. Yani o yüzden ücret vermeyeceksiniz ama yani kayıtlı olmanız gerekiyor. Ona göre planlamaları yapmaları gerekiyor. Bu çok önemli ama takip ettiğiniz sürece bunları ben sizinle paylaşıyorum zaten. Paylaşmaya devam edeceğim. Önemli olan böyle güzel bir organizasyonun Türkiye'de ücretsiz bir şekilde yapılacağını bilmeniz yani. Ve arkadaşlarınıza bunu duyurmanız, çevrenize duyurmanız yani. Sadece hemşireler için değil. So one question always been asked to me. You know, in Turkey, nurses or midwife, so most of them really like a degree level, university degree level. But some people finish not degree level. İşte ön lisans ya da lise mezun hemşireleri soruyorum. They are not degree level, diploma level. Okay. So what they can do, what kind of...
So the NMC, the Nursing and Midwifery Council, doesn't specify what kind of qualification the candidates must have. It's very important that if you're a midwife, you have a standalone midwifery qualification because, for example, some other countries do a degree or a diploma in nursing and midwifery. So for midwives in particular, it's very, very important that you have a standalone qualification in midwifery. It doesn't matter whether it's diploma or degree, as long as it's strictly midwifery, then you are eligible for registration. With nurses, we can accept both diploma and degree as well. And it's the process is the same, so there is no difference. It's still CBT, still OSCE for all of the candidates. It's just we just want to make sure we support you with writing your CV and presenting your CV well, because you get one chance at making the right impression, and so we can support with that.
Yani o yüzden arkadaşlar benim akademi sayfam onun için diyor ki CV çok önemli diyor. Bir kere şansınız var diyor. Zaten o yüzden bir CV hizmeti hazırlama desteğini ondan veriyorum ben size. I had them as well to make sure they have a right CV because I know it's very important. One thing I want to know really, you know, you said to people who's in diploma level, even nurses could do maybe assistant nursing job.
We don't unfortunately recruit for nursing assistants or healthcare assistants. We recruit for registered roles, so not nurses, midwives, allied health professionals, regulated roles. But I also, if I may jump in, Pakistan, I really wanted to demonstrate the career progression in the UK, because one of the guest speakers coming to Izmir with us, and he will only be coming for the Izmir part of the trip because he's not able to be moved away from his responsibility for the entire week, is the Chief Executive Nurse for North East London NHS Foundation Trust. Originating from Zimbabwe, came to the UK 20 years ago, having had only a diploma qualification. He was very quickly supported by the trust to then further progress his educational journey, and is now the executive chief nurse for the entire trust. His next step is to become the CEO of the hospital. So you can see how the opportunities are endless, not just for nurses, not just for doctors, but for anyone who has the desire to be a good leader.
Arkadaşlar diyor ki birisi mesela diplomasıyla gelmiş, hani lisans mezunu bile değilmiş, başka bir ülkeden gelmiş. Adam şu anda hani şeymiş, head of nurse, yani hastanenin yöneticisiymiş. Yani diyor ki hani ben size hep anlatıyorum örneklerini. I am the one example as well. So I am a matron. They know. Yani I progress over the years. And I always say
You
my
are an
colleagues, they can do the
absolute
same.
example of what career progression is, you know, and the perfect example that it can be done. You just need the right support. You need the right people with you.
Yeah. Diyor ki doğru insanlarla karşılaşıp çalışırsanız diyor mutlaka siz de o basamakları çıkabilirsiniz diyor. Burada hani baş hemşire olursunuz, işte bileyim başka alanlarda çok gelişebilirsiniz diyor ve de doğru söylüyor bu anlamda. Başka sorularınız neydi arkadaşlar? Biraz sizden soru alalım. I am asking a few questions to our colleagues. I mean, our followers. Some people from India, some people from Iran as well. You know, everybody can join our conference.
We would love
if
to
they want to come.
Attendants from Iran. We're very, very knowledgeable about recruiting from Iran. We have a great track record of recruiting midwives and nurses to the UK, and lots of testimonials. We've looked after them very well. Iran is obviously a sanctioned country, and we were the key party to change the legislation around the Pearson VU to allow Iranian citizens to do their exams in Turkey. And so we opened up this opportunity and are very, very proud. So any Iranian candidates are very, very, very welcome to come to the presentation.
Perfect. Physiotherapist, you know, there is a mix in Turkey. We don't have like occupational therapists exactly the same, but our physiotherapists doing everything what they will do here. So they really asking me, and dietitian as well. So what kind of role they could have? Fizyoterapist ve diyetisyenler için sordum arkadaşlar.
One of the guests that are coming, and these guests are coming to the Istanbul part of the conference only, are Serona Care, and they in particular are looking for physiotherapists for their community roles to support their patients in the community. So it's important that you have a driving license for these particular roles, but there are also opportunities, and it's a perfect time to come and speak to your potential employer there and then and ask them all the questions.
Arkadaşlar yani bunu ben YouTube'a da koyacağım mutlaka ama bunu kaçıranlara lütfen duyurun. Bakın fizyoterapistler diyor ki buraya işveren de gelecek. Bu işveren gelen kişi de diyor ki gelin görüşün diyor. Sadece sizden istenen araba sürebiliyor olmanız gerekiyor diyor. Tabii ki İngilizce konuşabiliyor olmanız gerekiyor. Ya bu konuda iyi olan arkadaşlar lütfen böyle fırsatları kaçırmasınlar, gelsinler, görüşsünler. Yani böyle şeyler olabiliyormuş. Okay, thank you. That's good for physio. And dietitian, I'm sure is similar, isn't it?
I just saw a question. Someone was asking about accommodation. Yes, there is a period of free accommodation sponsored by every employer on arrival, so you don't need to worry. You will have a lovely warm place to put your head down to when you arrive, and enough time to kind of get your bearings to find alternative permanent accommodation after arrival.
Arkadaşlar zaten biliyorsunuz ama yine tekrar ediyorum. İşte benim yönlendirdiğim acentalarla gelenler her zaman doğru yere geliyorlar. O zaman ne oluyorlar? Şimdi bu kişiler mutlaka size kalacak yer veriyorlar. Bazı hastaneler 1 ay veriyor, bazı hastaneler 3 ay verebiliyorlar. Ama hepsi veriyor. Yani ilk geldiğinizde 4 hafta falan oluyor. Hep yani kalacak yeriniz oluyor. O konuda merak etmeyiniz. I told them about accommodation because they were worried. One more question as well. I think there was a colleague from Australia now. Another colleague just joined from Ireland as well. Do you recruit countries?
We do recruit for other countries. So we do recruit for Australia and New Zealand, and there is a huge shortage of midwives in New Zealand in particular at the moment. So we are just preparing for a presentation to the New Zealand health authorities, and we will be promoting Turkey as the sole sourcing country for the midwives, because the quality of the candidates we've experienced from Turkey and Iran too is just phenomenal. So we are really hoping to be able to organize in the few months to come a recruitment event for nurses and midwives with New Zealand employers, and hoping to be able to open this to both Turkish and Iranian candidates as well. And of course, if you're a candidate from a different country residing in Turkey, then we do also welcome those applications. So not to limit ourselves.
Arkadaşlar bakın şunu da söyleyeyim. Bilmiyorum Hüseyin orada mı hala? Yani şeyler o kadar başarılı ki sadece İngiltere'de değil, Avustralya ve Yeni Zelanda'ya gitmek isteyenlere de yardım ediyorlarmış. Özellikle ebeleri Yeni Zelanda'nın çok ihtiyacı varmış ve ebeleri şeye davet ediyorlar. Yeni Zelanda'ya. O yüzden şey yapın. Yani aklınızda bulunsun. Ebeyseniz yani sadece İngiltere'de değil yani şu var. Yani ben hep aynı şeye geliyoruz arkadaşlar. Dönüp dolaşıp. İngilizceniz varsa ben ne diyorum hep size? Bütün dünyanın kapıları açılıyor. İngiltere'nin kapısı zaten açık size. Yeni Zelanda, Avustralya, Amerika. O yüzden İngilizce öğrenenler için bakın Yeni Zelanda'ya gitmeye bile yardım ediyorlar. O yüzden çok iyi. I said to my colleagues, my friends, my followers, just learn English. After you learn English, now you're saying to us, not just only England, they open the door for Australia or New Zealand. I think
any
they will be very lucky.
any profession. Just as soon as you pass your English language examination, you will be in the strongest position ever to apply for any job you like, because the other examinations are clinical. So essentially doing what you already know. The exams you already passed during your university degree, they're not that much more difficult. From the employer's point of view, how long it takes someone to get over the English language examination is the biggest unknown. It may be that somebody will only take 3 months, but it may be that some candidates will take 18 months. So the point at which you secure your English language certification at the required level, whether it's by the NMC or HCPC or GMC for doctors, that's your strongest point. And at that point, you will have an array of offers to choose from.
Okay, there's some good news for our, our friend in Turkish colleagues. I'm really happy for them. Peki, what about the radiology department?
Yes,
Do you have any
lots of opportunities. Yes, lots of opportunities for radiographers. Absolutely. So please do apply to. Just going back to what we were saying before as well, it's really important to focus on English language, but we do also offer some support, and I think the best thing you can do is just to work in groups and support each other, because Turkey, just like many other countries, we appreciate that you learn English 2 or 3 hours a week, or a day, a couple of times a week. But every day you speak a different language. So it's a much bigger hurdle to overcome. But we are here for the long term. So we will wait for you. And the opportunities will always be there.
Okay. So English level, could you just tell them again what kind of you request? And then after, I'm just going to ask one question, because one of my Telegram managers is asking. She is very good in the OET. She nearly there, but she hasn't passed just yet, but she's very good progressing. So she's saying, can she have interviews without OET?
So the only exceptions that the employers would make interviewing candidates who don't yet have the required level of English are for mental health nurses and learning disability nurses, because those two specialties are deemed difficult to recruit. So we actually do have courses available for mental health and learning disability nurses to join. So if they meet a certain threshold prior to interview, which is a less formal assessment than a full examination, if they meet that benchmark level, we will then put them on an 8-week training course, and hopefully following that course they will be ready for the exam. So that is the only exception where candidates can apply for roles without IELTS or OET.
Arkadaşlar ben size yine söylemiştim, söylüyorum. Özellikle psikiyatri hemşireleri, işte learning disability, yani ne denir, özellikli çocuklara ya da ne denir, özürlü çocuklara bakan hemşireler, o kişiler sadece OET konusunda destek alabilirler diyor. Çünkü onlar için bir para ayrılmış. Hani kursa yolluyorlar ama diğer normal hemşireler için maalesef o yok. OET geçmeniz bekleniyor. Onu söyleyeyim. O yüzden özellikle psikiyatride çalışan arkadaşları özellikle davet ediyorum. Lütfen gelin görüşün bu insanlarla.
And then you asked about the English language levels. So for nurses, it would be 7 in the 3 components of listening, speaking, and reading, and 6.5 in writing, or B in OET in listening, speaking, and reading, and C+ in writing. And you can club those over 2 sittings. So if you want to translate that, I'll give you the next one then. Next one up.
Ayatsız söyledi, benim söylediğim gibi biliyorsunuz. Yani diyor ki sadece yazmadan alırsanız diğerlerinden 7 istiyorlar. Doktorlar için de zaten hepsinin 7 olması gerekiyor. Ayaz öyle. You know, what about OET? Do you think OET is easier than IELTS?
Our OET specialist who is coming to both Izmir and Istanbul. So OET is coming to our conference, but OET is not easier in terms of the difficulty and the level assessed, but it's definitely more appropriate because you have the guarantee of the subject title that you will be discussing or writing or reading about. So by the virtue of the fact that it is a clinical examination based around nursing or physiotherapy or other medical profession, you are removing one potential barrier to entry, whereas some of our international nurses had to deliver examinations on the Shakespeare's work or formation of sand dunes when they were doing their IELTS. So, you know, you have to have a lot of academic knowledge to be able to do IELTS. But equally, we have had candidates who studied for IELTS for a very long time, switched to OET and actually found it that they would prefer to continue with the studies for IELTS because they've already kind of invested that much time and effort into in IELTS, and they kind of had their mindset on IELTS. So OET, in our experience, we supported in the last couple of years, we supported nearly 1,000 candidates with English language training courses, predominantly mental health nurses and learning disability nurses. And out of those, over 99% choose OET. So, yes, come and see the OET team during our conference too.
Basically arkadaşlar söylediği şey gerçekten OET yani kolay olduğundan değil ama en azından çıkacak sorular sağlıkla ilgili sorular olduğu için belki daha kolay olabilir diyor. O yüzden şey yapıyor yani onu da tavsiye ediyor. Ama dediğim gibi canlı gelebilirseniz gelebilenler lütfen gelsinler. OET ders veren hocalarla da tanışma şeyiniz var. Evet, one more question I haven't asked. Çok güzel hatırlattı paramedik arkadaşımız.
Yes.
Paramedik.
Yes. Go and do your IELTS. Yes, paramedics. Go and do your IELTS and then email me, please. Absolutely. So we have been told by the NHS EI central team, so that's one of the governing bodies, that there is government funding coming down later this year for international recruitment of paramedics. So you have a head start. It's not, the funding has not been released yet, but when it does, all hands will come. Will be all hands on deck and recruit as many paramedics as we possibly can. So please go away, do your IELTS or do your OET or TOEFL, and come to us and send us your CV. So absolute big thumbs up for paramedics.
Because obviously in Turkey, paramedic, not degree level, but similar, you know, like something. That's why we were worried. But you are saying
yes,
it's going to be okay.
And the IELTS requirement for HCPC registration is overall 7, with no component falling below 6.5. So it's less kind of prescribed than OET, saying this section, and this section needs to be this, in terms of the NMC registration. And if you were to do TOEFL instead, it would be 100 out of 120 points. So 2 different options.
You know, I was Australia and other country, America, accepting PT language?
Not
I
at
think
the
England doesn't
moment,
accept
no,
it, does it?
but we are aware that the HCPC, the Health and Care Professions Council, are going to be reviewing their English language policy at some point soon. And also the NMC is launching another consultation for a second stage consultation around English language policies, and that I believe will commence around August or September time. So it may be, but I personally feel that the two choices that we have are suitable, familiar, because we also need to consider the availability of training materials. If we were to introduce potentially new exams, then there are less training materials. And for example, IELTS has been around and has been accepted by regulators for a lot longer. So there are vast amounts of free IELTS preparation materials, and there aren't that many for OET, even though OET has been around for decades. It's not been accepted by the NMC, for example, until just a few years ago.
Yeah. And PT, I think long way to go, I think they want to accept. Although America and Australia accepting, and people keep saying is easy. So basically just one thing again, arkadaşlar, yani you have to learn English. By the way, can I just say to you, the Büşra, bu arada arkadaşlar bugün Büşra arkadaşımız, one of our, the Turkish nurse who come, obviously who my followers, and I refer her to you, the months ago.
Oh,
she got her PIN number today. So, yani sözümüzde durduk. We keep our promise. And she's very happily passed her exam, so I'm very proud of her.
News. That is lovely news, and it's just so heartwarming when you can see changing people's lives, and you can be just a tiny part of it, because all of the credit goes to the candidates. They do the hard work. We just tell them what needs to be done and at what point, and kind of break it up into small chunks so it's not so overwhelming. We give them all the care and love that we possibly can to make it enjoyable, because it can be enjoyable. It's hard work, but it can be fun when you have the right person with you. And it's so wonderful seeing candidates arriving, passing their OSCE, getting their PIN, bringing their family over, having another baby in the UK, buying a house.
I told them, yes, asking, can they bring the family? Although I have told them, but they want to hear from you. One question, can they come any age, England? Because Australia doesn't accept more than 44 years. And the second question, will they...
No, we welcome candidates of all ages. And to give you an example, many African countries that we recruit from have forced retirement age of about 60. So nurses between the age of 55 or 60 years old will have their enforced retirement letter served to them. And when we were in South Africa just 3 months ago, we met with an army major who was 57 and was served her letter. She came in and she said, look at me, I'm still young. I'm not ready to put my feet up and look after the grandchildren. I want to come to the UK, work in the UK for 10 years, and then I'll go back and retire. And we welcome these candidates with that wealth of knowledge and skill and ability to lead. So there is no maximum age.
Arkadaşlar, söylediğim gibi yaş sorunu yok. İstediğiniz yaşta gelebiliyorsunuz. Ailenizi de getirebiliyorsunuz. Bir tane yine takipçim şimdi geldi, paramedik. Bak, sizler için gelecekte hükümetin planı varmış. Para ayırmışlar hem eğitim için hem de getirmek için. Paramedikleri tek tavsiyem İngilizce öğrenmeye şimdiden başlayın olur. Okay arkadaşlar, son bir iki tane. I will ask a few more questions. Then I think we could finish because we will have another meeting on the 31st of May, so they could ask more questions. Arkadaşlar, varsa son bir iki sorunuzu da alacağım. Sonra 31 Mayıs'ta tekrar bir program yapacağız. Gelemeyenler oraya katılabilir. Sorularını cevaplamayanlar oraya katılıp orada sorabilirler. Lütfen o zaman da gelirsiniz. Anything else you want to say while I'm looking at your
I just want to
question?
tell everyone that, you know, one of the things that is very different about new professionals is that we really care, and the foundation of our company is care and compassion. So we run our processes slightly differently to our competitors. And when you come and join us, you will have one recruitment consultant with you for the entire journey. Whereas, for example, our competitors will have somebody else doing their pre-employment checks, somebody else doing interview preparation, somebody else booking your visa or flights. Whereas we find that having the consistency of working with the same person, you build bonds and trust and understanding. And you have that comfort of knowing that this person knows that I have 3 children, and this person understands that I just want to come over and get through my OSCE training and pass the exams and just have my children here with me as soon as I can. And so you don't have to repeat yourself over to the next person and the next person and the next person. So they understand also what's really important to you. And we have previously sent candidates away where we, you know, somebody said, I really want to work in Scotland because I have family in Scotland. And we don't currently work with any Scottish employers, because it's not about just finding a job. It's about finding a place where you will be happy for at least the next 3 years for the term of your visa, or ideally longer. So we really, really do care, and you will have that consistency of support from somebody who will be there with you.
Yani arkadaşlar çok dikkat ediyoruz diyor. Yani insanların sevdiği yerlere gitmelerini. İngiltere'nin her yerinde bağlantıları var. Yani ben acenta değilim bildiğiniz gibi. Ama onlar ajantalar, yani bir sürü hastanelerle bağlantıları var. Hatta bir keresinde diyor Scotland, yani İskoçya bile gönderdik diyor insanları. Çünkü orada mutlu olacaklardı diyor. Yani öyle bağlantılar var. Yani önemli olan sizin o seviyelere gelmeniz, pes etmemeniz. Ondan sonrası kolay. I just explain them if they do the language barrier and easy to, and you help them to relocate in England as well.
And the other thing I really want to emphasize is that our relationship with the candidates does not end. And we have a formal document that is called Candidate Contact Protocol, which then accounts for about 17 different points of contacts with the candidate from the moment they arrived until a year after. But the reality is that by that point, they would have become so friendly with the recruitment consultant that they can always come back to us, whatever happens, at whatever point it happens. And so we've had candidates who would say, you know, I'm really, really unhappy here. We would introduce a great candidate to a fantastic client, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. And so all it took was to give that candidate a new start on the new ward. And sometimes, you know, the wards are under pressure when you arrive, and it just is a really bad day for everyone. It doesn't happen very often, but I think we need to be realistic that sometimes those things do happen, and we are here for you. And if it means that if we move you from this ward onto another ward or to a different area, you get a fresh start, you get a team that is really supportive and cares and has experience looking after international nurses, then you're happy. You need to be happy, because it's very counterproductive. In the UK, everyone focuses on the patient. And if you're not happy in yourself, then you can't deliver that care and compassion to the patient that you would have liked to otherwise.
Okay. One more question I'm going to ask, and we will finish, because everything all about some people saying, oh, England is so poor. They look, they do the grave, you know, like what do you call? Do you think nurses really struggling in England? Yes, we know Australia maybe give more money. Arkadaşlar, en sevdiğiniz soruyu soruyorum. Hemşire maaşları gerçekten o kadar kötü mü? Buradaki hemşire aç mı, fakir mi? Onu sordum kendisine.
I think,
What do you
I think,
think?
you know, the times have been really hard on everyone recently in the last 12 months around the world with the inflation. But I do also believe that the nurses, you know, the nurses unions are promoting the increased benefits for the nurses, and the government is actually really trying to address those issues that have touched everyone around the world. And you know, there are countries where the inflation's gone up by 200%, some of the African countries, for example. So yes, the cost of living in the UK.
Turkey 100 enflasyon ama demiyorlar. Yani maaş artınca zannediyorlar ki o maaş arttı ama enflasyon 200. Arkadaşlar bizim maaşlar %5 arttı ama enflasyon da %10 yani. Hep öyle düşünün. Tamam 2000-2500 pound alıyor burada hemşireler ama alım güçleri çok yüksek yani öyle düşünün. Burada bir araba 5000 pound. Yani 6 ay farklı araba alabiliyorsunuz. Hep öyle düşünün lütfen. I just told them you know, yes, maybe you earn here 2,000, 2,500, but you can buy a car in 6 months, isn't it? 5,000, you could buy a car here. Because
absolutely. And you know, I see, having travelled to some African countries in particular, I haven't been to Turkey yet, and I'm really looking forward to coming. But what I'm seeing in other African countries is that actually the cost of food is more expensive in the supermarket in an African country than it is in the UK, and the salaries are not even comparable. So the cost of living in the UK, just like anywhere else around the world, has gone up, but the nurses still do have a really good lifestyle. They do have a really good quality of life, and what the UK offers is the respect that you get by being a nurse and that status within the society and the community, because everybody loves you for what you do. Everybody loves you because you're a paramedic.
Bakın en önemli şeyi söyledi. Ben hep söylüyorum. Yani sadece para için İngiltere'ye geliyorsanız yanlış yoldasınız. Burası uygun değil size. Ama ne dedi? Bakın en önemli şey dedi. İngiltere'de sağlıkçılara verilen respect dedi. Yani sizin sadece hemşire olduğunuz için, sağlık çalışanı olduğunuz için size saygı var. Bu saygıdan dolayı insanlar size yaptığınız bu iş için teşekkür ediyor sürekli. Yani sadece para olacak ve bunun için de sendikalar çalışıyorlar. Eminim kazanacaklar. Ama asıl size insanların sürekli saygı göstermesi. Burada şiddet diye bir şey yok yani Türkiye'deki gibi. I said there is no violence like in Turkey, in the UK. They don't come out and punch the, you know, the nurses and midwife in this country, you know. So that's why I just told them that main thing is here that you get
and
respect.
Career opportunities, and you know, you would be working 3 long shifts a week in most cases, so you always have opportunity to do overtime and really earn some really good money and save some money by doing overtime. So come and we will tell you as things are. If you like them, great, come jump aboard. But if you feel it's not for you, that's okay as well. Because for some, it's going to be an adventure of a lifetime, but for some, it's going to be an adventure for a couple of years. And then maybe you'll try Australia. Maybe then you'll try New Zealand. The world is your oyster.
Yeah. That's why I always say people, come and try nearest place if your English is good. Then 3 years later, if you're not happy, you can always go Australia, you can always go New Zealand, so then nothing stop you. The door is all open for you. So I think it was lovely speaking to you. Arkadaşlar hemen hemen sorularınızı cevapladım. Cevaplanmayan sorularınızı zaten benim sayfamda biliyorsunuz. Herkese cevap veriyorum. Asıl önemlisi 31 Mayıs'ta tekrar bir tane daha böyle bir buluşma yapacağız. Orada da tekrar sorabilirsiniz. Mutlaka katılın. Ama önemli olan lütfen bunları etrafınızda paylaşın ki herkes yararlansın. Bir de gerçekten ben büyüdükçe arkadaşlar görüyorsunuz bizi muhatap oluyor yani bir sürü insanlar. O yüzden inşallah Türkiye'ye yararlı işler olacak. Bakın İngilizce kursları gelecekmiş. Konsoloslukla konuşuluyormuş. Üniversitenin içine bu OET yerleştirme konuları. Yani güzel şeyler olacak diye hissediyorum. Paramedikler için planlar varmış gelecekte. Bütün bunlardan haberdar ben zaten sizi ediyorum. Takipte kalın onun için ama canlı olarak gelecekler. Yüzde kendiniz görüşmek istiyorsanız İzmir ve İstanbul'a gelmenizi tavsiye ediyorum. takipte kalın. Pakize Durmaz Akademi'ye başvuruyorsunuz. Orada registre oluyorsunuz. Yine bu NAU Professional'a registre olabilirsiniz. Her halükarda yani takip edenler her zaman kazanıyorlar. Sevdikleriniz de doktor, dediğim gibi fizyoterapist, diyetisyen, diğer insanlarla da paylaşın. Her sorunuza ben cevap veremiyorum. Ve bazı bilmediğim sorularda da yanlış vermekten çok korkuyorum. Mesela radyoterapi arkadaşlar, ne bileyim anestezide çalışan arkadaşlar. Yani ben her konuda bilgi sahibi olamam. O yüzden ben sizi bilgi sahibi olan insanlarla buluşturuyorum. Yani benim amacım o. O yüzden her şey güzel olacak diye görüyorum ben inşallah. I just said to them I cannot answer all their questions. Because I always try to ask them like you people that I can trust to answer their question. So we will have another meeting with you on the 31st of May. So any further question can be answered there. And if they want to talk to you face to face, they need to come to İzmir and Istanbul. I think everything's going to go.
Yes, and please do come. I would love to see you all. I feel like Turkey is where I belong. I feel like it's family already. So please be my Turkish family. Come see us. We will have a chat. We will have a good laugh. You'll learn a lot. You'll laugh a lot. You'll meet some really interesting people as well. And it will be worth it because at the end of the day, you're giving up one day, but I can promise you it will be worth it.
And they can ask all the questions that we could ask. Yani bazı sorularınızı cevaplayamadım arkadaşlar. Dediğim gibi 31'inde katılırsanız ya da yazılı olursanız tekrar sorabiliriz. Because some people asking me like there's a dialysis, they work in dialysis, like a technician. Well, I don't think there's a role in England like a dialysis technician.
There are roles for dialysis nurses. We don't recruit dialysis technicians, but there are roles in dialysis, also oncology and hematology too. And for example, we are currently recruiting for the Royal Marsden Hospital in London. That is the epicenter of oncology. But let's talk about it in İzmir. Let's talk about it in Istanbul. Or do come along to the webinar on the 31st of May. And Laura, who's been very kindly answering all your questions in the comments, is also coming to Turkey. So you will be able to also meet her and ask her questions too. Thanks, Laura, for supporting us.
And they are on Istanbul, in İzmir, and they help me always support me with my Telegram, with my, the Pakize Durmaz Academy. So they also responding people in Turkish. So when they come, they will have an opportunity to answer their question in Turkish and in English. So they could do practice in English as well, even with you. So good. So arkadaşlar bugün özetini söyleyelim. Burada sevgili ajantamız ve onun yanında İngilizce kursları, işverenler 21 Haziran'da İzmir'e, 23 Haziran'da da İstanbul'a gelecekler. Ben sizler için konuştuğum ücretsiz olacak. Ama kayıtlı olmanız çok önemli. Çevrenizdeki doktorlara, işte fizyoterapistlere, diyetisyenlere, diğer insanlara duyurmanız da çok önemli. Çünkü hemşire ve ebelere zaten ben torpil yapıyorum. Zaten yani ben onlara hep bilgi veriyorum. Paramedikler de gelebilir. Hepinizi çok seviyorum. Takibe devam ve paylaşmaya devam. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Lots of love. Bye.